Hey guys, today we're making pierogies. You need a 1/4 cup sour cream, 3 cups flour, 1 egg, and here you're going to put some salt. I like to take the sour cream and any of the wet ingredients and put it in the middle of the flour. So there's like a little hole that I make in there. And then I add the sour cream to the flour. And then I'm going to add my egg right into the middle of the flour, just like the sour cream. Then I'm going to add some pepper to taste. I like to add warm water. You don't need warm water, but I do add warm water to my dough. It just makes it easier to knead it. So it's 1 cup warm water, and you just add it in slowly so that way you can get it to the consistency you want. If it is too sticky in the bowl, it's okay because you're going to knead it. So once you knead it, you're going to add some flour as you are kneading the dough, so it takes away most of the stickiness. So you just mix it around. I like to use this mat that I got at Amazon, and I add the flour to the mat so the dough doesn't stick to it, and then I add flour to my hands, but the dough sticks to my hands no matter what. So I'm going to knead it in the bowl for a little bit, then place it on the mat, and I slowly start kneading the dough and add flour as I go. I also like to separate the dough into 2 halves. That way it becomes a little bit easier to knead the dough to the consistency I want. So I just like to make it into smaller batches. I'm making 2 batches of pierogies, so I'm gonna have 2 batches. You know what I mean? So there I go. I broke it into halves. Now I just knead it and knead it and knead it until I take away most of the stickiness. And then I form it into a ball, and I put some flour at the bottom of the bowl. I place the dough in there, put some flour to one side, and then I knead the other ball, and then I continue to knead it and knead it. Then I am going to be done. So here we go. Oh, it's done. Now I put them into the bowl and I cover it with saran wrap so while I make the filling, they can sit. So there we go. Then here's my second batch. Same thing, 1 egg, 1/4 cup sour cream, and 1 cup of warm water. And I just mix it together. Here I'm kneading the dough again and kneading it some more. And then I break it into 2 pieces, knead those, place them in there, and then we have 2 more balls of dough. So for the filling, I use 2 yellow onions and 2 sweet onions. If you're making just 1 batch, just do 2 onions. So you just take the skins off. I always like chopping onions because I feel like I'm like a chef. I know I don't chop very well, but I am a chef in my own head with this chopping. It's just the most fun. Do you ever just sit in your head and think, I'm a chef? I really am. And that purple knife right there is my oldest, most sharpest knife that I love so much. So you're going to chop these up real good into small pieces and place them in a bowl or whatever you have. And then you're going to chop them some more. You want them to be like, sauteed onions. So you're going to chop them real good. I like to make potato and onion filling, but you can add cheese if you want. There's my onions. Now I'm going to take a 3-pound bag of russet potatoes. We'll rinse them off. I'm going to peel them and rinse them off, and then I'm going to chop them up into pieces to boil them. And you can add as much potato as you want. You can make as much filling as you want. You can use the filling for anything afterwards. If I have extra filling, I like to make potato pancakes. So here we go, chopping them up. Then I'm going to take 3/4 of a stick of butter and place it in a pot, and then add salt and pepper. And then this is what I'm going to use to saute the onions. And what I like to do is I like to leave my onions on a medium heat and let them sit there for a while. So the bottom of it gets a little brown. Here's the boiling water, and there's the butter for the sauteed onions. So I like to let my onions get a little bit brown on the bottom, and then as long as they're clear, they're good to go when they're done sauteing. So add the potatoes, let them get soft, and then there is the butter. Add the onions. I usually saute these for about 10 minutes because it's a big batch. And here we go, mixing them together. And then there's the potatoes that are boiling. There's the onions when they're done. Yum. I love onions. Anybody else? So good. All right, so there's my rolling pin. And then I got these little circle things at Amazon or on Amazon, and they're all different sizes, and I'll link them below if I can find them for you. They're really great for cookies. My grandmother made those pot holders. Love them. And here we go with the potatoes. And so I just mash them up with my nifty Dollar Store potato masher that I love so much. It's like my best find ever. And then I add some more butter. I add like really thin slices of butter, so it's probably about half a stick. Then some more salt. And then I add the onions. And then I mix them up real good so that it tastes absolutely delicious. This is a lot of work, so this took me all day. So you put flour on the mat that you're going to use to roll out your dough. Take one of the doughs out, and you're going to want to smooth off the flour that kind of bunched up on the bottom. And then I like to put a little bit of flour on the top, and I start rolling out my dough. You don't want it to be too thin because it will break. So I don't know how much of, like, I can't really explain it very well how thick you want it to be, but you don't want it too thick. So there's the circle, and then I put the potatoes into a ball, and then I put the potatoes in the middle of the dough. I use my index finger to smush down the potatoes, and then I pinch the dough down with my middle finger. Is that my middle finger? I'm not sure. But whatever fingers you use to pinch, and my thumb. And just pinch it, and pinch it so it looks like that. I usually pinch the sides about 3 times. I add flour to my fingers so it doesn't stick. It's going to take a little bit for you to get used to making the dough thick enough so it doesn't break. I still have pierogies that break sometimes if it's too thin. And so I just continue to use the little circle. And then again, there's potatoes, smush it in the middle, pinch the sides, flour your fingers, don't forget. And you just continue to pinch it. Now you can use any filling you want. Sometimes I make sweet pierogies where I'll do fruit and cheese. Sometimes I will do American cheese and potato, or potato, onion, and cheddar. It all depends on what your family likes. And right now we just wanted potato and onion. So I'm just going to show you guys a few of them that I make here so you can get the hang of it. And here we go. It was really hard for me to record this because I don't have like a little tripod, so I had to set it up on my knife block. So hopefully this is good for you guys. So we're just pinching and pinching. This is my grandmother's recipe. She taught me how to make this. So all of the ones that I'm making, the huge batches that I'm making, I will freeze. So I'll cook some tonight, and then I will freeze the rest of it. I like to freeze them before they're cooked. Some people like to boil them first, but I like to just freeze them as is and then take them out frozen and boil them and then fry them. But that just depends on what you want. These 2 batches will last us about 2 months. They're a real quick dinner once you freeze them. They're our favorite. It's my daughter Dahlia's favorite food to eat. They're so good, guys. So you just pinch away. See? And I don't know how long I pinch these together for you, but we're getting to the end of the pinching. And there you go. We have some floured fingers and you do want to make sure you have something next to you because your fingers get really messy with the potatoes and the flour. You want to clean off your fingers as you go because it can get really messy. And oh my goodness. And the last one. So ball up the potatoes, stick it in the middle, smush it down with your finger so that it stays inside. And as you pinch, you want to push the potato down as you pinch because it will kind of squish out the side, but you keep on pushing it down and then you just pinch it closed. It's a learning curve, so you're going to learn as you go. Took me a while to perfect my pierogi pinching. All right, and she is done. Okay, so there's all of my pierogies that I made. That's 2 batches. Beautiful. Now I'll freeze them just like that. I won't boil them. Those are how I freeze them. And see, they're all shapes and sizes. They're beautiful just as they are. Yeah, this will last us about 2 months. I always put a Saturday aside to make pierogies when we're all out. Aren't they beautiful? Okay, so now this is how you cook them. You boil the water and you add the pierogies as the water is boiling. I usually add about 8 to 10 depending on the pot size. If it's a small pot, you add less. And you let them boil until they will float to the top. They're done when they float to the top. So here they are. They're not done yet. I'm just kind of taking them from the bottom because they do stick to the bottom of the pan. And once they all float to the top, they're done. Then, see, they're there. They're all floated to the top. So I take them out with a pair of tongs and I place them on a plate or a cookie sheet and I let them dry off. Like the heat will dry them off because you don't want to cook them wet. So then I put some butter in the pan. Now Dahlia doesn't like me to fry up onions with hers. So I'm just putting a ton of butter in the pan. And then I place the pierogies in the pan once the butter is almost melted. And this was really hard for me to record because I had to hold the phone while I was doing it. So I only had one hand. So I placed the pierogies into the frying pan. And I let them fry up for a good 3 minutes. And then I start checking the side that's in the frying pan to see if they're starting to brown. They get crispy. So sometimes they'll just be a little bit brown and I'll flip them over because it will start getting crispy and I don't want them too crispy. So here I'm just flipping them over. And as you cook them, they are going to start to like turn a light brown, then a medium brown, and then a dark brown. Dahlia doesn't like hers too crispy. I like mine crispy AF. Yes, I do. I want them to be very brown and crispy. I want to be able to hold it and bite it. All right, so I'm going to let them cook for a while. Now I'm going to check and see what they look like on one side. Actually, I don't know what I'm doing. Standing there? Oh, here we go. Back to business. All right, so now I'm going to check and see if they're brown on one side. Not yet. Let's see. I wish I had the other hand because the pan wouldn't stop moving. All right, so here we go. So now you can see how they are browning on the side. So I just flip them all over. And I continue to fry them up in this butter. I don't put anything else in the pan but butter. This is for Dahlia though. For me, it's a whole nother story. So we just flip them over and continue to cook them on each side. All right, so here they are almost done. Delicious, guys. They're so good. They just are so yummy and delicious. So you just let them cook for a while and then you flip them over when they're almost done. You have to keep checking because if you don't, they will burn. You don't want to burn your pierogies because they're too delicious to burn. I burnt them the first few times I made them. And there we go. We're going to start flipping again. So good. They'll last in the fridge without being boiled and not being put in the freezer for about 2 days. And then you want to cook them before you put them in the freezer. All right, so these are almost done. These are going to be Dahlia's. and they're just butter and the pierogi, and I put a slice of butter on the pierogi for Dahlia to either eat them whole. She'll either pick them up and bite them, or she'll cut them up and eat them. Ooh, look at that one. Delicious. Perfect. Yep, perfecto. So good. The butter browns, the pierogi's brown. So good. And then I just place them on a plate for her. And she just, like I said, she just likes them with butter. So delicious. Such a great winter meal too. It's so filling, so good. And then those will brown just a little bit more. And then Dahlia's dinner is good to go. Yum. I could watch this forever. I love pierogies. Now for mine. I put some butter in the pan, and then I put an onion, a huge onion, into that pan. And I saute the onions until they are translucent. I don't wait till they're brown. And then when they're translucent, I will place my pierogies inside the pan. But you want to make sure your pierogies are under the onions because they won't cook. So we just saute the onions for a little bit, and then I place my pierogies, and my pierogies are in there, and I let them cook for a while. And then I start checking if they're brown. And as they're browning, I move the onions over so that the onions don't stop the pierogies from being cooked. So you have to move the onions around. Place them on top of the pierogies instead of underneath. And I let them cook until they're brown and crispy and delicious, and the onions are all sauteed and delicious. I could eat this forever, guys. It's my favorite meal ever. I'm so grateful my grandmother taught me this. And I just continue to cook them down. Oh, look at that one. Good, good, good. All right. And then once they're cooked, they look like this. And I have my dish of sour cream on the side, and I pick them up and I eat them by dipping them in sour cream, or I cut them up and dip them in sour cream too. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I love you guys so much. Let me know what you guys think. And if you make them, send me pictures on Instagram. Bye, guys.